Hello and welcome to World Talks, where every word matters, from our Brussels studio. I'm your host, Sasha Farbach. Now, much has been going on this week, and the focus has been very much on the launch of the website of the Polish presidency, which will, of course, take over the rotating presidency of the Council in January. Much to talk about and analyze, and here with me in the studio, Michał Wawrykiewicz, Polish MEP from the EPP. Thank you so much. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So looking at the presidency, this main motto, security for Europe, there's 7 dimensions, all connected with security. What are your expectations here for the next 6 months, starting from January, and what is going to be the greatest challenge for Poland as well?
Well, of course, Polish presidency is aimed at strengthening European security, which is absolutely obvious. So the first point and the motto of Polish presidency is Security Europe. And the first point is broadly understood security of Europe, strengthening of our capabilities, especially in the situation when we have a new administration in the United States, a lot of question marks. What will be the policy of the new president of the United States when it comes to transatlantic relationships? So we need to strengthen our capabilities here in Europe. Second point, the support for Ukraine, of course, unwavering support for Ukraine and for enlarging the European Union. Next, democracy and the rule of law, which is the cornerstone of our European Union, and we need to protect it for the future. What next? Enhancing EU competitiveness. So what we can read from the Draghi report, there are a lot of challenges inside it. Our economy here in Europe needs to run after American and Chinese. We need to close these gaps. So this is also one of the priorities of our presidency. And of course, an energy transition and combating the climate change. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, a full plate. Also, I think what's interesting, I believe, since the Hungarians took over, there was not a single new sanctions package against any Russian entities or Russian individuals. I expect that probably to be very high on the agenda. Do you see something like this in Poland also looking at more sanctions against Russian entities? Where is this going to be going?
Well, this is absolutely clear for us that we need to be very strong and clear when it comes to Russians and their entities and some particular personalities. So I think that will be also on the agenda of Polish presidency.
You mentioned, interesting enough, a cornerstone, which is rule of law, European values. I know that very much through your legal background as well, very much involved in this whole issue. Let's look at around the region right now, because I mean, first case, really briefly, Romania, that ruling right now by the court dismissing the first round of presidential elections. How do you respond on the side that potentially may have been the wrong decision? Was that an overreach by the courts? How do you interpret that? And what does that mean for rule of law in Europe?
Well, for me, it is a signal why the independence of the judiciary is so important for each of democracies. So the Constitutional Court was able, in Romania, was able to stop these unfair elections, and this is a very important sign for us. That's why we need to protect the rule of law in each country. We have a lot of problems right now. We have a problem in Slovakia, very strong. They are going towards very bad direction after Hungary. So it is not only Hungary, it is also Slovakia, but other countries are staying in the line for this, I would say, autocratic path. That's why we need to debate here in Brussels about potential strengthening the effectiveness of the tools of the European Union to protect the rule of law. Our example in Poland is very good. There are a lot of lessons that we learned in Poland if we have effective enough toolbox in Europe to protect the rule of law or not. In my personal view, we need to improve this toolbox, because even if the Commission, the Council and the Court are using these tools properly, sometimes they are not effective enough.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, you mentioned the toolbox. I think this came up in the discussion with now former Commissioner Ms. Jourova about transparency, and she had said that the toolbox is actually sufficient, that she made a lot of attempts there to make that better, so that would be an interesting way that she said what we have now is actually good. But let's...
That's why I asked a new Commissioner, Mr. McGrath, about his idea in this particular space, and he answered that he's going to use existing toolbox, but also considering potential improving of the new toolbox.
All right, so that's going to be important. Also looking at our neighborhood, very much I think not only prompted, but I think prompted in many ways because of a resolution passed in Strasbourg European Parliament not so long ago about Georgia, and that prompted Georgia's Prime Minister to say, well, we're going to be pushing further down the track the idea of accession for his country. We've now seen these protests in their 11th day by now, but also brutal crackdowns of those protests. What does Europe do with Georgia in this case?
Well, the Western world is backing Georgia's aspiration to join the European Union and join the democratic world, of course, and we are going to stand on this line. But unfortunately, Georgia is in a very, very difficult position right now. The influence of Russia is incredible, and we are waiting in these critical days what will happen on the streets in Georgia. The delegation from the European Parliament is going to go to Georgia within the next days, so we'll see. But this is very important and crucial moment for this nation, and we can see and we can observe every day a very clear aspiration of that nation to join Western world. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, looking also, if we look at as you said, the desire by Georgians to be part of the European Union, it's well over, I think, 70–80%. I think also right now it seems that those people on the ground want our help, want Europe to do more. We're already hearing a mulling of travel bans for Georgian Dream, sanctions maybe, but we also hear that potentially Hungary might already be against that. The foreign minister said, I think, in the last sort of few hours that he does not want to support sanctions against any of the. Remember that Orban traveled there right after the election. So again, we come classically, what do we do about that? Is there really united Europe on this? Orban is holding things up again. What's the strong signal that we can send to the Georgians?
Well, unfortunately, you are right. Orban's regime, but not only Orban's regime. I can imagine that also Robert Fico in Slovakia will go the same way, not to support the aspiration of Georgian nation and Georgian people, but rather to support Russia and Putin and his influences there in this part of the world. So that is what we can expect, but we cannot stop in our way to support Georgia, and we will do whatever we can, whatever is at our disposal to help them.
Does that mean stronger sanctions, potentially travel bans, asset freezes? Everything
what is at our disposal in a legal way, what the European institutions can do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and also we have the president of Moldova also in Brussels, Maia Sandu, very much her first trip since being re-elected. Also with moving forward, lessons learned. I know that they spoke a lot at the Commission about justice and rule of law. So how would you assess then, looking also at Moldova as a case of another candidate? You said enlargement is going to be a key priority of the Polish presidency. Give us your take on Moldova, just briefly.
Well, this is a successful story, I would say. On the opposite, I had a chance to be a part of the mission to Moldova during the election and this referendum, European referendum there. But now Moldova needs to go forward when it comes to fulfill all the expectations on the basis of what the European Union needs for the country which is a candidate to be a part of the European Union. So a long way in front of them when it comes to rule of law. This is, as I said, the cornerstone of the European Union. So they need to fulfill all the expectations in that respect, which is not easy for Moldova. But I believe that Maia Sandu is fully determined to do that, to fulfill all of the expectations of the European Union, and I believe that this will be the successful story at the end.
Okay, and just to close it on, also with European Parliament, I know there are rumblings of certain ECR MEPs from Poland who may well have their immunity in jeopardy because of certain proceedings that are going on in Poland. So as someone from Poland, as an MEP, what does this now mean? What's the next step there? What could be happening here, and what's at stake here for these?
Well, the procedure is in the Juri Commission of the European Juri Committee of the European Parliament. So it's a quite standard procedure. So first they need to be heard in front of the Commission, and then the committee rapporteur is preparing the report. The report is we have a voting in the committee, and then it goes to the plenary session. And finally, at the end, the plenary will decide if to waive the immunity or not. It will happen probably when it comes to these first examples, because the first motions are targeting 4 people from ECR, so it should end around February next year.
But I suppose it could be difficult now, as you know, we have now closer cooperation with the traditional center and also ECR. We have now, I think, more of a, let's say, a closer working relationship with the EPP, or sort of underlying looking at the ECR. Does that complicate the outcome of this if there would be a vote in the plenary?
I don't think so, because there is a very clear division in ECR between Meloni's party and Law and Justice, Kaczyński's party. And that was stressed very clearly by Manfred Weber when it comes to these political links and support for the Commission. Meloni's party supported the new European Commission of Ursula von der Leyen, so that is clear for me, and it should not interfere the voting when it comes to waiving of the immunities.
All right, so more to see and more interesting political, I think, activities in Parliament, but also across Brussels. Look, always a pleasure to speak with you, Michał Wawrykiewicz. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay tuned. Much more coming up right here on TVP World. Goodbye.